Alright guys, we are back with the results video for UFC 306, where we will find out which channels had the most and least correct picks and which channels were the most and least profitable. But as always, we start with the totals and the Oddsmakers versus the Tapology versus the YouTube Prediction Channels. On this card we had a total of 10 fights. 86 channels made predictions, and those 86 channels made a total of 774 predictions, so on average each channel made predictions for 9 fights. Out of those 774 predictions, 377 were correct for 48.7%, and most of them were incorrect, with 397 incorrect predictions for 51.3%. Compared to other events, the incorrect prediction score was a lot higher this time. And this is why. On this card, the favorite fighter in odds didn't win a lot, only 4 out of 10. But the underdogs won 6 out of 10 times. And usually the favorites are chosen the most by the YouTube prediction channels. So if you placed a $100 bet for the outcome of the fight on only the favorite fighters on this card, you could have lost $435 for a minus 43.5% return of investment. But placing a $100 bet on all underdogs could have won you $620 for a very nice return of investment of 62%. The Tapology community had exactly the same favorites and underdogs on this card as the Oddsmakers, so the same results. And when we go to the YouTube predictors, we only have 9 fights. And that's because Irene Aldana and Norma Dumont both exactly got 36 out of 72 picks for 50%. Meaning there was no favorite or underdog for that fight, so that fight must be ignored. But for the rest, the favorites and underdogs in picks were exactly the same as with the Tapology community and by the Oddsmakers. Because we had to ignore the results for one fight, the YouTube predictors had the best results by picking the favorite fighter compared to the Tapology community and the Oddsmakers, and only losing $335 for a minus 37.2% return of investment. For the results in this video, only channels that made predictions on at least half the fights are included, so a minimum of 5 for this card. At the end of each part there will be an overview that will include all channels, even if they have less than half of the picks. Let's see which channels had the least correct picks this week. In third place we have Santino DeFranco. He had 3 out of 8 correct for 37.5%. And maybe you have seen him on this event. He was coaching the Chinese fighter Rparqs versus Raul Rosas Jr. And as he said on his podcast, he doesn't like to pick fights for fighters that he's coaching or he's working with. He also didn't make a prediction for the last fight of the night, O'Malley versus Dvalishvili. So that's why he made 8 predictions. Then, in second place, we have these 12 channels in alphabetical order that all made 10 predictions and 3 of them were correct for 30%. And in first place, we have Double Vision MMA 365 and Pure Picks. Both had 2 out of 10 correct for 20%. So yeah, a lot of channels didn't do so well this week. But there are also a lot of channels who like to pick the underdogs. And those channels did very well this week. Let's find out. In fifth place for most correct picks this week we have 3 channels. Premium Picks, Brandon from Santino DeFranco and Sportsbook Killa. They all had 5 out of 8 predictions correct for 63%. In fourth place we have Just Win Baby MMA. He had 6 out of his 9 picks correct for 67%. In seventh place we have Keith Shillan from Sherdock.com, the MMA fortune teller, UFC Thoughts and Angelo from We Want Picks. All 4 of them had 7 out of their 10 picks correct for 70%. In second place we have MMA DENTE and MMA Lock of the Night. Both had 8 out of the 10 picks correct for 80%. In first place this week for most correct picks we have 2 channels, Rparqs and Uncle Weezy. They both had 8 out of their 9 picks correct for 89%. So congratulations to Rparqs and Uncle Weezy for being number 1 with most correct picks this week. Having a high correct pick percentage doesn't always mean you're one of the most profitable predictors. As for example, this week there are 2 channels who didn't make it on this list but are one of the most profitable predictors this week, and we will see them very soon. But first, here is the overview of all the channels with their correct picks, their total picks and the correct pick percentage. For the results for the most profitable and unprofitable predictors, we include all picks each channel has made, including high and low confidence picks. We bet $100 on each pick a channel makes for the outcome of the fight. We calculate the results using the odds from the tail of the tape shown before each fight. In 6th place of most unprofitable predictors this week we have the true analyst. If you followed all of his picks, you could have lost $540 for a minus 54% return of investment. In 4th place we have Tyrell from Running Mouth MMA, the Finch Jets and the Weasel. They all had the same exact picks, and following each of these channels you could have lost $575 for a minus 57.5% return of investment. In 4th place are Axel MMA and Fight Fairy. Following one of these channels you could have lost $587 for a minus 58.7% return of investment. And in 3rd place we have again two channels, Dryball and Shy Got Picks. Following all of their picks and placing a $100 bet on them could have lost you $597 for a negative 59.7% return of investment. In 2nd place is Double Vision MMA 365. Following all of his picks, you could have lost $728 for a minus 72.8% return of investment. As you maybe remember, Double Vision only had 2 out of his 10 picks correct. And in number 1 for most unprofitable predictor this week, we have Pure Picks, who also only had 2 out of 10 picks correct. His picks were even less profitable. If you followed all of his 10 picks and placed a $100 bet for the outcome of the fight, you could have lost $750 on your $1,000 investment for a return of investment of minus 75%. In number 8, for the most profitable predictors this week, we have Brandon from Santino DeFranco's channel. Following all of his 8 picks, you could have won $218 for a 27.3% return of investment. In 7th place is the MMA Fortune Teller. He made 10 predictions this week, and following all of them, you could have won $238 for a 23.8% ROI. In 6th place, we have UFC Vods and Angelo from We Want Picks, with a profit of $266 for a 26.6% return of investment. And finally, after being on a losing streak for 8 weeks, UFC Vods finally had a winning week. So congratulations for finally breaking out of that losing streak. In 5th is MMA Lock of the Night, with a profit of $401 for 40.1% return of investment. And in 4th place we have Baby Sharp MMA and Jacob from We Want Picks, with a profit of $405 for a 40.5% return of investment. And despite having only 6 out of their 10 picks correct, they were the only 2 channels that had picked Kathleen Sousa to win against Jasmine Jericho, and Kathleen Sousa was the second biggest underdog with minus 390 in odds, which gave them a nice boost in profit. In 3rd place for most profitable predictor we have MMA DENTE. If you followed all of his 10 picks, you could have won $543 for a nice return of investment of 54.3%. In 2nd place, with a bit more profit but a higher return of investment, we have Uncle Weezy. If you followed all of his 9 picks, you could have won $576 for a nice 64% return of investment. And in number 1 for most profitable predictor this week, we have Rparqs. If you followed all of his 9 picks and placed a $100 bet for the outcome of the fight, you could have won $600 or a very good return of investment of 66.7%. So congratulations again to Rparqs and Uncle Weezy for being the best predictors this week in profit and highest correct pick percentage. And as always, here is the overview of all the channels with their total money won or lost and a return of investment. And as you can see, less than a quarter was profitable this week with their picks. Let's quickly find out which channels are on the longest losing streak. On a 3-week losing streak, we have these 15 channels. And out of those 15 channels, 12 are on a 4-week losing streak. And from those 12 channels, a total of 8 are on a 5-week losing streak. But from those 8 channels, only 2 are on a 6-week losing streak. Glenn Bott and Paul from the Dogger Pass podcast. And only Paul is losing 7 weeks in a row. Let's hope he can get out of this losing streak next week. Since this week was pretty rough for most channels, there are not a lot of channels who are on a 2-week winning streak. Only 11. Out of those 11 channels, 8 are on a 3-week winning streak. But out of those 8 channels, there's only 1 on a 4-week winning streak, which is MMA DENTE. So congratulations on being the channel with the longest winning streak. Don't forget to check out all the channels who had the most correct picks, who are the most profitable predictors and are on the longest winning streaks. Links to them can be found in the video description below. That was it for this results video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and I'll see you in the next one.